2,500 years ago, without brain scans, without neuroscience, without psychology as a field of study, a man sat under a tree in northern India and directed the full power of his attention inward. And what he discovered about the human mind in that process was so precise, so accurate, and so practically useful that modern neuroscience is still catching up to it today. In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to share with you Buddha's most important discoveries about the mind and exactly why they matter for your life right now. The first discovery was this: the mind is not fixed. This sounds obvious today, but in Buddha's time, and for most of human history, people believed that the mind you were born with was essentially the mind you would die with, that your tendencies, your fears, your patterns of thought were simply who you were, permanent, unchangeable. Buddha said, this is completely wrong. The mind is fluid. It is plastic. It is capable of profound transformation at any age, in any circumstance, regardless of how long the old patterns have been running. Modern neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong capacity to reorganize itself, to form new neural pathways, to strengthen new patterns and weaken old ones, based on where you direct your attention and what you repeatedly practice. Buddha called it the path. Both are pointing to the same truth. You are not stuck. Your anxiety is not a life sentence. Your depression is not your destiny. Your anger, your fear, your limiting beliefs, none of them are permanent features of who you are. They are patterns, and patterns can be changed. This single discovery, held deeply, is the foundation of all genuine hope. The second discovery was about the relationship between attention and experience. Buddha observed that where you place your attention determines the quality of your experience far more than your actual circumstances do. Two people can be in identical situations, one at peace, one in agony, based entirely on where they are directing their mental attention. The person focused on what they have lost is suffering. The person focused on what remains is at peace. The person catastrophizing the future is anxious. The person grounded in the present is calm. Same moment. Completely different experience, based entirely on attention. This discovery has enormous practical implications, because it means that you have far more agency over your own experience than you have been led to believe. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can, with practice, learn to direct your attention with increasing skill, away from the spiral, toward the present, away from the catastrophe story, toward what is actually true right now. This practice, the deliberate, consistent training of attention, is what Buddha meant by meditation. And it is the most powerful tool for improving the quality of your daily experience that has ever been discovered. The third discovery was about the nature of the self. And this one is the most radical and the most difficult to grasp. Buddha observed, through direct, sustained, rigorous examination, that the solid, fixed, separate self that most people experience themselves to be is actually a construction, a story, a collection of thoughts, memories, sensations, and beliefs that the mind has assembled into a narrative called I. And while this narrative is useful, while it allows you to function in the world, it is not ultimately real in the way we assume it is. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise and pass. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions arise and pass. You are not your story. You are something far vaster and far more free than any story could ever contain. Most of the suffering Buddha observed in people, the shame, the self-criticism, the desperate clinging to identity, the fear of change, was rooted in people defending a fixed self that was never as solid as they believed. When you loosen your grip on the story of who you are, when you become willing to not know exactly who you are for a moment, something opens, a spaciousness, a freedom, a capacity to respond to life freshly rather than through the thick filter of accumulated identity. This is not the loss of self. It is the discovery of a much larger self, one that is not threatened by change, not diminished by failure, not defined by what others think, because it is not built from those things to begin with. The fourth discovery was about the role of compassion in mental health. Buddha observed something that modern psychology has now extensively documented, that the mind heals in the presence of compassion and contracts in the presence of judgment. Every time you criticize yourself harshly, every time you replay your failures with contempt, every time you meet your pain with impatience, you activate the threat system in your brain. Cortisol rises. The nervous system contracts. Healing becomes impossible in that state. But when you meet yourself with genuine compassion, with the same warmth and patience you would offer a close friend in pain, something completely different happens. The nervous system settles. The threat response quiets. And in that safety, genuine healing, genuine change, genuine growth becomes possible. Self-compassion is not weakness. It is not self-indulgence. It is the precise neurological condition under which the mind is most capable of learning, changing, and healing. Buddha knew this intuitively. Science has since proven it definitively. The fifth and final discovery, the one that encompasses all the others, is that the mind is the source of both your greatest suffering and your deepest liberation. The untrained mind creates suffering from nothing. It generates fear from imagination, pain from memory, anxiety from projection. But the trained mind, the mind that has been taught to see clearly, to rest in the present, to meet experience with equanimity, that mind experiences something that Buddha described as the greatest possible human achievement. Not enlightenment as a mystical state reserved for saints, but clarity. Genuine, practical, daily clarity. The clarity of seeing things as they actually are. The clarity of responding to life rather than reacting to it. The clarity of knowing, in any circumstance, what matters and what does not. That clarity is available to you, right now, in this body, in this life. Through the practice of training your attention, one breath at a time, one conscious moment at a time, one chosen response at a time, you are doing exactly what Buddha did under that tree. You are discovering what your mind actually is. And in that discovery, everything changes. Save this and share it with someone who needs to understand the power of their own mind. Subscribe to Tathagata Wisdom, because every single day we bring you the ancient wisdom that helps you understand yourself more clearly and live your life more fully.